let's move to our next question. We've got a double feature. Double Animal Fries asks, if your local airport is a hub for a specific airline, how does that factor your recommendations re picking airline partners? Is it usually a yes that this should be one of your partners, or does it depend? If it depends, what does it depend on? So I'll start this off first. I live in an area where I happen to be near two of the largest hub, three with if you count LaGuardia, but JFK and Newark are both hubs for various airlines. JFK is the international hub for Delta in New York City. LaGuardia is their domestic hub in New York City, and Newark is United. JFK is American Airlines as well. If so, for me, I'll be answering this a little bit differently, and I'll start. Does it being a hub factor into your recommendations? Yes and no. Now, I'm not in a place where it's only one of the big three. I have all three of the big three in a hour and a half commute from where I live. And if I am choosing United, I'm going to prioritize United. The fact that Newark is the hub for United, yes, that's going to steer my recommendations if I'm picking United. Now, if I'm telling somebody what they want to do, I'm going to frame the question as which airline do you prefer of the big three in my specific area? You prefer United, you might want to look at these cards, and you're going to be looking at flying out of Newark the most. United flies out of LaGuardia, but you're starting your flight in LaGuardia and you're going to a United hub. You don't want to live that life if you don't have to. Sorry, RJ or Craig, because I know Indianapolis or wherever else you have to fly out of, your choices get a little limited. So if they prefer America or if they prefer American, all right, you're going to be flying out of JFK. Maybe you want to start at the city ecosystem. Do you like the American hard product? If you don't like the hard product of the airline that is the hub of your specific in if a specific airline is a hub in where you live and you don't like that hard product, it doesn't make sense to further invest in that hard product. If you don't like the service, you don't like the hard product, you don't like dealing with whatever rules the airline has, you've had terrible experiences, it doesn't make sense to go down like an American Airlines rabbit hole if you've flown American Airlines numerous times, and every time you've flown American Airlines, you have wanted to get off the plane and punch a kitten. If that is your feeling flying American Airlines, don't invest in American Airlines. If you get off like a Delta flight and you just want to squeeze a puppy until you realize that, anyway, you want to squeeze a puppy out of love because you love that product so much, cool, invest in Delta. If your local airport is a hub for a specific airline and you've had nothing but bad experiences with that airline, don't invest in that airline. Look at what other airlines you have available to you. You might have to fly Frontier to do a point to point to another hub that works better for you for your chosen airline. Is that the way you want to fly? Not necessarily, but if that's what you're going to do because you want to avoid the hub airline, hey, whatever helps. I took that to some pretty extremes. I'm sorry. Craig, as someone who has more of the hub or secondary city, how would you be approaching this?
Yeah. So one, I just want to point out I'm allergic to cats, so I wouldn't mind punching a kitten, just putting that out there. But what I will
Craig does
say,
not speak for all of us.
We went from ostentatious to silly to makes you want to punch a cat.
Not even a cat, a kitten. A
Yeah.
little baby one.
the worst part is my wife loves cats, so we are probably going to get a cat at some point. Neither here nor there.
Fun fact, you
I
can actually become de-allergic to a specific cat through exposure therapy.
I will keep that in mind. But I digress. I have no problems with cats, just to be very clear. They are wonderful animals. I appreciate that they want to love you and then go away. I like that. But I will say this. So I am flying out of Indianapolis mostly. I will say going to any major city, it's pretty much a direct flight for the most part, right? It depends on what airline you want to fly. To Matt's point, if you hate a product, don't put yourself through that. Even if it's cheaper, just do what is going to make you happy. I will say, I think if you live in, so for example, if you live in Atlanta, you are hard pressed to not have Delta as one of your airline partners. It is possible, but the amount of pain that you are going to deal with in CRJs you are going to fly is going to be rough, right? Say you want to fly American out of Atlanta, you're going straight to Charlotte or DFW, and you're either going to be on a CRJ 900 or an, an E175 is not a bad plane. Give you that. But more than likely, the likelihood of you being on a Canadian jet, regional jet, pretty high. I think it really depends, and I think it also depends on the other accoutrements that come along with it. In Indianapolis, yeah, you can be a free agent and just pick whatever the cheapest flight is. You can get Spirit, you can get Frontier, Alaska, AA, United, Southwest, Delta. But what I will say is the only airline lounge in the entire airport is a Delta Sky Club, and a pretty nice one, right? So if you want to get to the airport an hour early, grab a quick cup of coffee, go for it, right? Or if you value, hey, I value points value, right? And this is my issue with AA. People love AA miles, but don't utilize the product, but then also don't travel. And so somebody says, I've got 300,000 AA miles as if it's supposed to be a flex somehow. And it's okay, good for you. What are you doing with that? You going to Charlotte, Dallas? No? Are you going anywhere that's not an AA hub, or are you trying to go to Japan? And if so, there are better ways to do that. I really think it depends on A, where do you want to go? How often do you want to go? Is status at all important to you? Because, and when I say that, I think status is more helpful if you have either a volume of flights or if you have very expensive monetary flights coming up, right? Having American Airlines Gold status or Silver status or United Silver isn't really going to do much for you outside of the free check bag. I know somebody in these comments will say, no, I've actually been upgraded 87 times for 37 flights. I love that for you. That's awesome. Let me assure you, I've had either upper or pretty mid status for most airlines. It's not that big of a deal, right? Like you'll get an upgrade sometimes, sometimes you won't. The biggest feature for me is that I can get extra legroom seats if there's already fully booked up, right? Like I would prefer to fly first class, but if I'm not going to get an upgrade or I just booked too late and first class seats are all booked up and this is just the exact time that I have to go someplace, I better get at least some extra legroom. I think that's the dependent part. And if that's what's valuable to you, I would say Delta's hard pressed. You got to get the second highest Delta status to get that. Now it's awesome getting there. You get a few thousand Starbucks miles or Starbucks stars. Is that what they are? Stars? Whatever it is. And there's other really great milestones, but I think you have to look at it holistically and ask yourself, do I care about value? Do I care about comfort? And then where do I want to go? And how often am I going? I think those are the four questions that you need to ask because, again, to Matt's point, if you hate flying Spirit or, excuse me, Frontier, but you're in Denver and you say, I hate United, you don't have a lot of other choices. All right. If you're in Denver, either you're flying United, Frontier, or Southwest, and those are your options. Otherwise, you are going to be a unhappy camper, at least if you're over 5'5". So, yeah, I think it's important, but I think with most of these questions, and I hate to be this guy, but it depends, right? So much of this depends. RJ loves Delta, and for very rightly, but if RJ had to deal with what I deal with, which is I'm connecting in Detroit on a CRJ 700 every single time I fly out for work, I don't think RJ would be on board to be on Delta, a Delta
I love
girly
a
right now.
CRJ. Give me a 3-seat row so I am all by myself. I am 5'8", sir. I am happy with the CRJ.
Are you serious? I've been in the CRJ 500. That first class isn't even a first class seat.
I usually have the 900 out of my home airport, but
Oh, see,
give
we
me
don't get
a
nice.
3-seat row. I'm happy. I am mad that I'm in a 2x2 to go to Denver from Detroit on my next trip because I wanted to be by myself. I don't want to sit next to somebody.
Yeah,
Has
somebody can
anybody,
fact check me, but
it,
500s and
well,
700s.
first off, that United economy free and United economy plus seat comes in clutch for your specific scenario. But does anyone else get the ick when you get on a plane like a CRJ and it doesn't have a TV screen? I get
Yeah.
the ick. Like, it, I've been so normalized with a screen that if I get on a flight, even a United flight, and I know United's going through every seat will have a screen right now. So there's a lot more planes with TVs. But if I get on a flight and it doesn't have a screen, I'm like, is this all y'all got in the hangar?
Where's the real plane?
No, I agree with that.
This
And
is
then
why
you
airline Wi-Fi
immediately,
comes in clutch.
yeah, then you immediately start trying to download movies because this is about to be a long flight.
I buy the higher storage iPads just so I can download all of the things.
Yeah, I didn't do that. And I passed my 14 days. I thought about that on like day 15. I was like, you know what? I should have just went up a storage size.
Yeah, you
Anyway,
got get you a nice T9 hard drive. Throw that bad boy on there. It's
oh,
like
I got my
magic.
portable. I got plenty of portables. Don't worry.
But yeah, I am done, Matt. I will hand it back. All of this to say, it depends. And also, don't overvalue status.
That's fair.
You have
Also,
1K or AA executive platinum. Those are awesome.
good to know. The terror that is the CRJ will probably be completely out of service in about 20 years because the last ones were delivered in 2021. The last production CRJs were delivered in 2021. So
But why? Who did this? Why Canada?
you realize Canada is the reason we have the Geneva Conventions, right?
It's amazing that these planes can like literally be in the air longer than they're on the ground their entire lifespan. And yet we can't get our cars to last half as long.
Right?
I don't know. I got a 2011 Ford Edge that's creeping up on 300,000 miles.
Good for you. Good for you.
Things get it's nowhere close to baling wire and spit, but man. Anyway, RJ, your thoughts here.
I hate to say the word it depends, but it depends on where you're flying. If you're, say you're Craig, right? And you're flying to Philly all the time. And say you, in this scenario, you're in a hub for an airline and they do fly to Philly, but there's another airline that also flies to Philly and it's a more convenient time for whatever reason. Does it matter if you're a hub or not if they have the flight you want at the time you want? No. Some of it is going to depend on where you're flying. Like, I fly to LaGuardia, Atlanta, or Detroit. Every flight I am ever going to be in on a plane, I am flying to one of those three cities. Guess what? I can get to anywhere in the country on those three cities, right? Anywhere I want to go, I'm going, I'm good. So for Delta, I'm set. Like, I'm good. I don't live in a hub. If anything, Southwest has like a quarter of all the flights out of my regional airport. So technically, they would be the biggest, but ain't nobody making my airport a hub. But some of it is going to depend on you. If you're in Atlanta and for some reason you want United because you fly up to Charlotte all the time, like maybe that works for you, right? Like maybe it does. Maybe if you're in Denver and you really want Delta because they fly wherever you want to go at the most convenient time and you have to fly there 3 times a month, then maybe that works for you. Maybe your company has a deal with somebody, and guess what? It doesn't matter if it's a hub or not. That's the best option for you because then you can use those AA miles to do whatever you want, like Craig. or you have a high status because of work, right? Like a hub can guide you, but ultimately there are other factors than are you in a hub or not. Now, it might benefit you, right? If you can make it work in a way that doesn't disproportionately disadvantage you just because it's a hub, then go for it. But you have to look at the whole picture. You can't just say, oh, I'm 20 minutes from Newark, I must fly United. Like, it is not a preordained destiny that you have to. It might make certain things easier, but if you really wanted to AA out of Newark, by Jove, you could do it. You could. You just have to decide what you want and see what mashes up the most. The hub is probably going to mash up the most, but it might not. You still have to take a look, see what you're doing. Maybe there's so many flights to Atlanta. It's 6 a.m. from my airport. And then there's a flight at 9. Like, if that flight at 9 is the best thing that I see in a day when I book flights, right? Because I don't want to be up at 6 a.m. So sometimes you have to look at little things like that, right? Or personal versus business. If it's business, you might want those 6 a.m. flights. If it's personal, you might want that noon flight. It really is, you have to look at all the factors, I guess, is my ultimate point. It's not quite hub must do. Not quite that simple.
That makes sense. Lonnie, your thoughts here?
I'm not going to say Craig stole my thunder, but he literally said almost everything that I was going to say. So I don't have too much more, but I will add my little 2 cents. Take the airline that gets you to where you want to go to most often. Doesn't matter, like RJ said, doesn't matter if it's a hub or not. Whatever airline that can get you to where you want to go the most often, that should probably be your airline. And in most cases, yes, I understand there are some more remote places in the US that are not like around the island of Manhattan where you have every single option. You might only have that one airport, and the next closest airport is a 4-mile drive. If you're down for the drive, go for the drive. Who am I to tell you to go for the drive? That's up to you. I'm not doing it, but you can. Knock yourself out. Even hub airports also have other airlines in them. So this goes back to Craig's point and RJ's point of you might end up with a connection. Craig and I are Chicagoans. ORD has Delta. You can fly to Chicago O'Hare on Delta and American, even though it's literally where United headquarters is. It is the United hub. Used to be the largest airport in the world at one point, most busiest airport in the world for a very long time, and then some other airports came in later. We don't need to get into that, but same thing. You go to San Francisco, LAX, Denver. These are all United hubs. You can fly American, you can fly Delta and get to and from them, and some other airlines as well. I would say like some of the smaller ones. I know we brought up Frontier and like Southwest, but in Chicago, you probably have to switch over to Midway. You're still in Chicago though. You're actually in Chicago, not in Rosemont, where the Chicago airport's actually not in Chicago. Midway is, but O'Hare is not. Small semantics, technicality. And
Chicagoland is also big.
It is. It's like in New York.
Yeah.
But
Chicagoland and the tri-state area are roughly the same sort of thing, where Chicagoland is like a third of Illinois.
I said technically and semantics, Matt.
Okay.
It's technically.
If CTA goes there, I'll forgive it.
Atlanta. You can also fly United and American to the Atlanta airport, even though that is the Delta hub. Now, granted, 50% of the airport is Delta, and the other 50% is everybody else. North side, south side. Which side are you on? And they let you know the difference when you're there. But I say all that because it comes down to convenience. I basically only fly United. It is my preferred airline for a multitude of reasons. I have flown to Atlanta on United. I don't think I've ever flown nonstop to Atlanta on United. I think I've connected every single time, no matter where. You can go from New York to Atlanta, and you're probably going to connect in Chicago, to be completely honest. But it comes down to convenience when you think of that hub airport. And once again, could I fly from New York to Atlanta on Delta nonstop in a couple of like in an hour or two? Yeah. But then I don't get the perks and the benefits and the customer service because I don't have status on with Delta. See what I'm saying? So there's that going back to what Craig said, there is a level of convenience as well. And at the same time, I also look at it on going back to points, as Matt and I recently discussed, purpose and an exit strategy. Great. I just earned a couple of Delta miles. What am I going to do with them? If it's not going to kill me to take the connection, I'll take the connection, get the United miles because I actually know I can use them later. So it all comes down to a choice. So I don't want to be the third person to say it depends, but I will be the first to say it's just about choice. What's important to you? What's convenient to you? If you don't mind taking the connection or add an extra couple of hours, maybe an hour, maybe two, maybe three. If you go through Chicago, you have a 51-minute connection. I'm just calling it what it is. I hope you can run. By the time your flight lands, your next plane's boarding. That's Chicago for you. If you want that path. And if you don't, then it's a 3-hour layover. But Craig, tell me I'm wrong. Anyway. But if that
clubs in ORD though, just saying, the United and AA clubs, top tier.
You can't get United Club. You're not flying United no more. You got to have that United boarding pass now. You can't just buy in anymore. But it's about that convenience. So if you don't mind taking that connection, like sometimes I don't mind taking that connection. So when I have a business trip says go to Atlanta, I'll say book me on United. You're going to connect to Houston. I can use those miles later. So I'll take it. And I'm on a business trip. So it's just getting paid. More time getting paid, walking around the airport. And Houston ain't that bad. Expensive, not that bad. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there because at this point, I'm just repeating what my co-hosts have said. But it's a choice.